The League of Women Voters, Metro North Chamber of Commerce, and the North Suburban Optimist welcomes you to this forum to meet the candidates running for Anoka County Commissioner District 1. This includes West Anoka, Ramsey, Nowthen, Oak Grove, and St. Francis. Thanks to the candidates, the Andover City Hall, and QCTV for making this event possible. This year, the League of Women Voters is holding our Meet the Candidate forums without an audience to avoid COVID-19 spread. Questions for the upcoming forums for the general election can be submitted on the League website, lwvabcmn.org. I'm Jerry Nelson, co-chair of voter service for the Anoka, Blaine, Coon Rapids League of Women Voters. I live in Champlin in Hennepin County, so I can't vote for any of these candidates. All the candidates for this race were invited to participate, and they're both here today. The League of Women Voters does not support or oppose any candidate or political party. I'm sure these candidates care very much who you vote for, but the League does not. The League does hope that each of you will vote. The goal for our forums is to help citizens become informed voters. The candidates in Anoka County District 1 are John Latona and Matt Look. We will begin with 3 questions that were provided to the candidates in advance. This will be followed by questions that have come online. Candidates will alternate who answers each question first, and each answer is limited to 1 minute. So let's start with our first question with Matt Look. Describe your background and community involvement.
Well, thank you. I am a 40-year-plus Anoka County resident. My family has been active in the community dating back to when First Baptist Church was on the corner of Main and Ferry in the city of Anoka. My grandfather was the pastor of that church. My father was a locally known dentist and became a missionary and later an epidemiologist, and our conversations have been many during this pandemic. I've raised my family in the city of Ramsey, and I served on the Ramsey City Council from 2006 to 2010. After completing that term, I ran for the county board, and the vast majority of you voted for me to serve in that capacity. I have coached the Anoka Ramsey Athletic Association, both baseball and soccer, and I serve on the Youth First Board of Directors, serving disadvantaged children in our community. I've always given back to my community. In my public role, I've been diligent in keeping taxes down, as 40% of the families are raising children and don't need to be overburdened by taxes. I'm often asked to speak on causes important to our community, and I consider it a joy to share the good news of what we are doing and what we have accomplished in Anoka County. Thank you.
Thank you. John Latona, what's your background and community involvement?
Excellent, thank you. I'd first like to thank the League, City of Andover, and QCTV for putting this forum together. It's so important. My name is John Latona. I'm running for County Commissioner. I've raised my loving family here in the city of Ramsey for 34 years. I've been part of that community. I owned Ramsey's local grocery store, Latona Super Value, for 20 of those years. Gave thousands of kids their first start in lessons in the work world. I'm a servant leader with a strong orientation around how work is done always should be about something bigger than me. I'm known in the community as the mayor of City of Ramsey right now, past Ramsey council member at large, Highway 10 and 169 improvement effort, Anoka Riverfest, Anoka Halloween, Nowthen Threshing Show, Anoka and Ramsey Rotary Club and the Lions Club, as well as the Church of St. Stephen's and their Summerfest events. These are different ways that I show up in so many different ways in our community. I'd love to serve the community, and I'm looking forward to being your next county commissioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you. John, what are your qualifications for serving as Anoka County Commissioner, and why are you seeking this office?
Perfect. I would lay it long and deep that I've been part of this community, giving back in so many ways and trying to be thankful for everything that are important and the experiences I have. But I'm also hearing that we want common sense and that the county needs forward-thinking leadership. Anoka County is far more complex than just one issue. You deserve to have an elected official who talks about roads, about the future, about jobs, and about the quality of life. I speak to the residents and understand that. There's a silent, larger group of people that are aware around these things, and the emotional answer is not always the best. My hope is that my time as an elected official has shown you that I'm willing to always be earning your vote by making decisions that are well thought out and informed by good data and are a product of good discussions. This may not always be easy, but it has worked and been worth the effort for me forever. Your vote as Anoka County Commissioner is so important. I promise I'll always strive to do what's right and not just focusing on what's right.
Thank you. Matt, what are your qualifications for serving as Anoka County Commissioner, and why are you seeking the office?
Thank you. As I mentioned, I am the incumbent. I have served for 10 years now as the Anoka County Commissioner. I've served and faithfully discharged the responsibilities of the position, an oath that I've taken 3 times, every time that I was reelected. It is important to have elections, which affords you, the voter, the ability to assess the quality of job that is being done. As I've door knocked, again, the majority of you know that the work that I've done. They appreciate the focus that I've given to Highway 10, Highway 47, and soon Highway 65. Perhaps I was a little naive in thinking we could take on these projects, but the reality is most people identify them as mega projects. That never stopped me, though. For the past 10 years, I have fought tooth and nail to get these projects done. And these are absolute needs in our community that I will see through with your support in November.
Thank you. Matt, look, what are your short and long-term goals for Anoka County?
Thank you. First of all, is our support of law enforcement. I often get the question whether or not we will defund our law enforcement, and actually will increase their public safety budgets to maintain law and order in Anoka County. Secondly, continue to develop the Economic Development Coalition that we collaboratively put together and worked with Anoka County cities and one township to coordinate development. The effort has contributed to Anoka County being the second fastest growing county in the state. We currently export 70% of our workforce. Imagine their quality of life if they could work closer to home. Finally, roads. Roads have been Anoka County's top priority. The work on Highway 10 Phase 1 was Armstrong, a county project. Phase 2, Fair Oak and Thurston Boulevards, will begin in 2022, ending in 2024. Phase 3, Sunfish and Ramsey Boulevard in the city of Ramsey, will begin 2024 and end in 2026. Highway 47 will be a grade separation flyover at the BNSF train track, the worst rated intersection in the state of Minnesota. Highway 10 and 47 improvements will dramatically change District 1 for better, both in congestion and in safety. Thank you.
Thank you. John Latona, what are your short and long-term goals for Anoka County?
Awesome, thank you. Again, I remind folks that this is our county, and I want to focus on things that are right for us. First things that I want to talk about are jobs. Now, 58.7% of our workers leave Anoka County daily. That compares to the statewide average of 38.6%. You shouldn't have to drive to Minneapolis to get a high-paying job. It's time that we bring more jobs to Anoka County. Second is the road issues. 93.7% of us drive to work daily, and that's actually the longest commute in the state. The days of waiting for the state to fix the roads are over. We need to all get on the same page and get this job done. It's gone on long enough. You deserve to get to work faster and safer. Also, you need a forward-thinking leader. You deserve to have a commissioner that can focus on multiple issues. Anoka County is far more complex than just one issue. I will bring much more than just the lights-on version that's the focus of the current commissioner. I've been a builder of vision and consensus and responsible for this good policy of the city of Ramsey as mayor. Thank
you. Okay, let's go to the questions that have been submitted on our website. First of all, John Latona, how would you use this office to promote public health and safe interactions to minimize the spread of COVID-19?
This is such an interesting issue because it evolves on a daily basis. Very complicated, of course, but there's some, in my mind, some real basic things that we need to be focused and stay centered on, and that's the fact that the actual virus and the impact it's having on our economy is really the problem. And until we're able to figure out a way for us to control that virus, we're not going to have the opportunity to return to what we call our normal living. And so what I want to do is I want to make sure that we are always educating and reinforcing good behaviors around this, finding solutions that are sometimes hidden under different problems that will allow for the residency and the business community to all try to adapt and learn as we go to create what we would call relatively right now our new normal. And then from there, hopefully we can establish a pattern that would be considered relatively safe, and we'll have this behind us. It's certainly a big challenge, and I look forward to interacting as much as I can in this role doing that.
Thank you. Matt, look, how would you use this office to promote public health and safe interactions to minimize COVID-19?
Thank you. Yes, I had an opportunity back when this first started. Everyone was scrambling trying to find hand sanitizer. And I had an opportunity to work with a local Ramsey business who was kind of in the business but wasn't able to find some of the ingredients. We managed to make 660 gallons of hand sanitizer with the help of the Anoka County Fairgrounds. We were able to distribute that hand sanitizer to thousands of people that brought their own containers and were just excited over the fact that they could get this product that they needed. Now, hand sanitizer isn't the solution to everything. Soap and water is good, but in some cases, you definitely need hand sanitizer. In addition to that, at the county, we've installed virtual rooms that are installed throughout our communities so that transportation barriers or people that may have those can virtually access the services that they need without having to tote the kids around and try and come to a closed building. And the other thing, too, is online reading materials. We've beefed up the online reading materials at our libraries to allow people access to that information and to help them in this time of need.
Thank you. Okay, Matt, look, please describe any experiences you have owning or managing a business, as well as specific advocacy efforts on behalf of the local small business community.
Sure, thank you. I do own a small business. I own a small printing company. I specialize in printing for candidates, actually. I've had chair of the bonding committee, the minority leader, and others picking up signs this year, and of course I lobby every single time that they come in for Highway 10 and other projects that we're working on. But really what that offers me is an opportunity to lobby these folks down at the Capitol once they get elected. They don't know that when they're buying product from me, but in fact I do go and lobby them. But I am a small business owner. I'm very sensitive to taxation. I'm sensitive to the reality that a lot of businesses are hurting today. I think as community leaders, we need to make sure that we're focusing on needs and not wants in our budgets these days. And by doing so, we're helping the businesses out. And I just think that it's really a requirement to support our businesses, which are the largest employers in our communities today.
Thank you. John Latona, please describe any experiences you have owning or managing a business, as well as the specific advocacy efforts on behalf of the local small business community.
Excellent, thank you. What a great question for me. 20 years as a local grocery purveyor has given me just an amazing insight into community and the whole issue around how together we're better, and it takes a village. And that's how we ran our business for those years. We invited everyone to come in, and we were welcoming. We hosted hot dog events and anything that we could do. All of the little leagues were all part of our sponsorship programs, and just any way that we could reach out from there, because we knew that a more interconnected community meant that we would all grow. More recently, I've been working with the Anoka Area Chamber of Commerce on an amazing effort over the last number of years, driving value toward manufacturing. We're literally changing the landscape of what manufacturing is for Anoka County, one of its largest segments. And we're doing some amazing things with the Anoka Hennepin school districts, rewriting curriculum, showing students pathways, and getting people involved in so many different ways that are building themselves toward meaningful careers that will allow you to get a house, live in the county that you grew up in, and start a family.
Thank you. Continuing with John, there are two questions here that are related. I'm going to put them together. What steps can Anoka County Board take to address racism in Anoka County? And equity, diversity, and inclusion is a hot topic right now. What will you do to further issues around equity, diversity, and inclusion in our community?
Well, honestly, if you take a look at us over time, this county, we were predominantly a white county 20 years ago. And over the last 20 years, there's been a shift toward diversity. And by today's standards, we're more like 83% white, and the rest of it is a mix of different races and orientations. And so what we need to do is we need to take a look at this, because we haven't, and we were the same county that we were 20 years ago. So we need to understand exactly what is inside our county demographics and how we're reaching out to try to meet people where they're at. And this is, how do we encourage diversity in business? How do we encourage diversity in education? How do we support folks that are moving into our county for the first time and don't really see themselves here? How can we be more open and willing and able to do that? And I think we need to do that inside the county itself. The population inside the county is predominantly white, inside the staff that's there. We need to look at how we can be better with diversity in that area as well.
Thank you. Matt, what steps can Anoka County Board take to address racism in Anoka County? And equity, diversity, and inclusion is a hot topic right now. What will you do to further issues around equity, diversity, and inclusion in our community?
Thank you. There's 2 areas we're working on. One I mentioned already was the virtual rooms that are installed out in our communities and the areas where communities may need more services than others. And this has been a huge success in equity in our communities. People may not realize the importance of this, but some people are not getting the services they need based on the access. They don't have the access, they don't have the mobility, they don't have the ability to get to the Blaine Human Service Center or Anoka County, downtown Anoka. And so by being able to go to these virtual rooms, they can in fact connect with the department that's providing the service and get that needed service that in a timely basis. The other thing that we're doing in our hiring practice right now is we're removing names. So as we're looking at names for hiring folks, as far as we're looking at applications for hiring folks, no one sees the name until the qualifications have been met. So whatever the position requires, we make sure that the qualifications are there prior to any sort of interviewing process. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Matt, look, how would you reform Anoka County Board and staff rules and procedures to make the decision-making process more open and transparent to the public?
Thank you. That's an interesting question. I know it's a critique of a lot of people out there in terms of transparency. I would suggest that the Anoka County Board is extremely transparent in every single decisions that we make. We often, I think the second criticism that you receive besides taking money under the table is that you're not transparent. And the reality of the matter is every single decision we do has to be advertised to the public. We're meeting at this time in this place. We're going to be talking about this information. They have it all available. Some of them are recorded. There's meeting minutes for everything, so nothing happens without the eye of the public that so wishes. And a matter of fact, there's an individual that comes to just about every single meeting and sits in and listens and comments at the end. We've actually included public input as well on part of these meetings. So I think from a transparency standpoint, we are transparent. And so when you talk about changing to increase transparency, I don't know that we can be more transparent than we currently are.
Thank you. Okay, John Latona, what is your opinion of the transparency of the Anoka County Board, staff rules, to make the decision-making process more open and transparent to the public?
I do have an opinion. It's based on some experiences I've had there, and it's an understanding that I have around how we as the city of Ramsey are transparent and how we conduct ourselves. And I see that one of the objects of my attention will be a reform around transparency as I define it in this way. I'm not exactly sure why, or I need to look into it a little bit more, but I don't think it's appropriate that Anoka County commissioners meet and they don't allow for people to attend the meeting and interact with the content that's going on in the meeting. It's literally a closed meeting. You have access to it in a couple different ways, but you literally can't go in there and ask a question. The other aspect of it is it's challenging, is that in the work sessions, a lot of the decisions are made. And so then it comes out to regular commission meeting, and it's basically rubber-stamped it that way. Currently, it's pretty common, I think, for there to be a process that's put in place where people grab whatever they have in far as support. They know they've got the support. They move a project through. And again, it shows up as being done at the end of that meeting. And I think we need to look at that.
Thank you. Okay, John, continue with this one. This is a new question that came in that's really interesting that I've never seen before in all the years we've been doing this. How is your county commissioner district, your geographical area, different from the other districts in the county in terms of demographics and people? And how does or will this affect your votes on the county board?
To answer the question about how to affect my votes, I'm not sure if it will affect my votes because I want to represent my district, but I also want to look at my entire county from a much bigger picture. And so I'm a representative of the county representing the needs of my district. Now, inside my district, I think it's interesting because I see so much growth that's occurring in the city of Ramsey. And that's kind of that urban sprawl that comes forward. Nowthen and St. Francis and Oak Grove are just starting to feel the hits of what that urban sprawl looks like. And so what I've learned over the number of years that I've been on city council is how to manage and balance between urban and rural. And so it's the issue that we have about being sort of this kind of fun open space community, but having the amenities of more of an urban environment. And so those are the ways that I'll look at that county or that district in the county, and then I'll weigh it against what I see in the other districts and figure out how to bring good policy forward that'll allow for us all to have a better county together.
Thank you. Matt, look, how is your county commissioner district, your geographical area, different from other districts in the county in terms of demographics and people? How does or will this affect your votes on the county board?
Thank you. It's an interesting question. The District 1 has the highest hunting and fishing per capita in the state of Minnesota. We have a lot of people that love the outdoors, and they aren't shy about that. But there are other areas in our county that require more transit, perhaps. You're looking at Coon Rapids and Blaine, areas where there's higher densities. And so decisions that you might support transit buses in those areas may not be applicable in District 1 from the standpoint that they just wouldn't be as efficient. But you need to make sure that the roads are safe, or that when there isn't as much traffic control, say on 47 and 22, that you're taking steps with signage and everything else to ensure that people are safe and not blowing through that. Or you're looking at possibly putting in roundabouts to slow people down, or try to manage the traffic flow, such as up in St. Francis that we implemented and has been an absolute success. So based on density and that, but our District 1 is more farm country than anything, and people love that, and they move there for a reason.
Thank you. Okay, Matt, look, domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking continue to plague many of our nation's communities. But immigrant women, LGBTQ victims, communities of color, and Native women face particular challenges. What would you do to ensure all victims of violence receive protection and services they need?
Okay. Thank you. We have what's called CDBG dollars that come in from the federal government, and we're different than other counties. The block grants that come in, we actually give out to our partners in the community that are some faith-based groups, some nonprofits. Alexandra House is one of them that specializes in what you're referring to. And so other counties don't give that money out. They keep it in-house and they handle it in-house, and I think there's some question as to the effectiveness of it. But from a county standpoint, we've seen value in working with our nonprofits because they are out there, they're working very closely with people, they understand the needs, and they're able to be a lot more nimble and react faster than would be a county structure. And so we will continue to provide funding to our nonprofits.
Thank you. John Letourneau, domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking continue to plague many of our nation's communities. But immigrant women, LGBTQ people, communities of color, and Native women face particular challenges. What would you do to ensure all victims of violence receive the protection and services they need?
Thank you. To open, I really would like to call out and a strong thank you to what the county is doing right now to embrace those issues. The Sheriff's Department, everyone's, they're involved and they're active with it, and I think that's totally appropriate. But it does fall within that category of what I referred to earlier as a systemic issue that needs to be reviewed based on the fact that our demographics have changed so much. And so we've got a lot more diversity in our county than we've ever had, and we still don't have the systems in place that really understand how those folks need to be met. And I want to make sure that, based on the fact that you brought this question out, that this is something that's very close and near and dear to me, and I want to make sure that we are doing a systemic overview of what happens in our county in regards to diversity and all of those issues. It's incredibly important. I think we need to have a better, clear focus on what needs to be done and a longer-term vision around how to meet it 20 years out. Thank you.
Thank you. John, what does accessibility as an elected official look like to you? In other words, how do you see yourself interacting with the residents of your district?
I see me doing the same thing I do every day, and that's just being around people. As a business owner in my grocery store, that was exactly how we conducted our lives, and it was more about how we engaged with folks and how we interacted with them. In regards to my accessibility and what I think this looks like, I'm your county commissioner. When I am out door knocking and visiting with folks, I ask, do you know what your county commissioner does? And most people say no, which could be determined as a good thing or could be determined as something else. But for me, I think I need to be out in front. I think I need to be that guy that is willing to take some time and do it on a schedule and do it with consistency, to listen to what people are saying and then to respond to what their needs are and see how we can be better together.
Thank you. Matt, look, what does accessibility as an elected official look like to you? In other words, how do you see yourself interacting with the residents of your district?
Thank you. It's a great question. We often get emails and phone calls and texts and people constantly questioning us on different things or asking questions on when are these roads done, or it's always an opportunity to work with the public. And there is kind of a weakness out there of what the county commissioner does. I refer to it as flyover country. They usually hammer on the local city councils and mayors, then they jump to the state. And they don't really understand the importance of the county that is, in fact, a 30-year property tax bill. We handle county roads and libraries and jails and courts and human services and so many important things at the county level. I don't know if they fail to teach that in school these days, but the reality is that every opportunity we're given to share with people what we do, what we specialize in, how we impact their lives, we take every opportunity, and we get many, many calls and have many opportunities to share that with folks.
Thank you. Okay, Matt, look, people with Alzheimer's and their caregivers appreciate the services provided by the Anoka County's Family Caregiver Connection. Caregivers are noticing a decline in our loved ones with the suspension of in-person services. What would be the process to form a committee to advise the county on these issues?
Thank you. We do have a committee on aging seniors, and I do not sit on that committee. Some of us specialize in various different committees that we sit on, but we are definitely informed of the topics that they discuss. I personally had a mother that passed away from dementia, so I understand the impact that this has on our aging population. And it's really sad. It's very sad. And especially if you're alone. I can't imagine. As you start to lose memory, there's a few people that you might recognize, but if they're not in your nursing home or care facility, you don't recognize anyone. And although people are trying to help you, you don't necessarily interpret it that way. And so it can be a very problematic time for these folks, and a very, my heart goes out to every single family having experienced it, every single family that has gone through this.
Thank you. John Latona, people with Alzheimer's and their caregivers appreciate the services provided by Anoka County's Family Caregiver Connection. Caregivers are noticing a decline in our loved ones with the suspension of in-person services. What would be the process to form a committee to advise the county on these issues?
Thank you. Absolutely, putting a committee together is probably a good step. If something needs to be done, to call it out, bring it forward, and start a process to make some meaningful change and create better value for that community. My mom has dementia, and I understand that piece of it. I have a disabled son who is in programming in Anoka County, and I'm so grateful that we've got those dollars and those resources available. And I know how challenging these times are for them. The reality around it is that our county needs to do more. They need to find more ways to actually push resources toward those groups so that they can actually get meaningful work done. because right now they're all on furloughs and they're all struggling with how to make ends meet, and they still are trying to serve their clientele and they can't do it. And so this is a real big challenge for us. Again, it would come back to some of my basics of how I'm wired. It's let's get out there and start listening to people. Let's start some conversations, create some pathways, and then let's make some good decisions about how we can make meaningful change. And we need to do it now.
Thank you. Our last question before we have closing comments. And John Latona, you'll be first. What measures would you support to improve and secure elections and voting in Anoka County?
Again, we're talking about the most unusual, voting season that we've ever seen. COVID has changed our entire lives in so many different ways. And I think this is as simple as I can put it for me. We need to find ways to have access to voting. However, we can make it easier for people to be able to vote. And again, I talk about meeting them where they're at. Some of them will be mail-in, some of them it'll be absentee, some of it'll be, obviously in person. But it has to be a multifaceted strategy, and it always has to be on the focus with, let's get people out to vote. It's important that they're heard and they have access to those votings.
Thank you. Matt, look, what measures would you support to improve and secure elections and voting in Anoka County?
Thank you. Yes, we've taken many measures. We've purchased new equipment, new scanning equipment for voting, and we've certainly made those investments to make sure that it's easy to vote. We've done the early absentee voting for those people that are either going to be gone or may not want to, under COVID scenario, want to be involved with a group type of gathering. Historically, though, Anoka County has had very high turnout in voting. I mean, compared to other counties, extremely high, in the 80% from what I recall. And so our people take it very seriously, certainly the role that their elected people are going to play and their expectations that they have for them, but also they see it as their duty to go out and vote. The one thing I will want to say is Paul Linnell is our person that heads up elections. Fantastic individual. He's recruited people that they put together a team in Anoka County that is, none can match. And they really go out there and do a fantastic job. So I have every confidence that we'll have election and voting in ethics and voting this year.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to your closing statements. And Matt, look, I'll ask you to go first.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for their annual efforts to inform the voters and coordinate this opportunity to share our messages with our constituents. There are big differences between me and my opponent. I focus on needs, not wants. I've cut wasteful spending and driven down ballooning debt. The things that are most important to you are roads, and I've worked very hard on trying to get those fixed in District 1. Not because others can't, they just haven't. I advocate daily for Highway 10 and 47 improvements and will celebrate with you when these projects are done. Finally, there is always mud thrown around during the campaign season. Some think that character assassination is a pathway to success. Some condone this behavior. I do not. I disagree. Our campaign has and always will take the high road. Please do not believe the rumors that you will be hearing this year. I keep an active list of rumors on my website so as to shed light on those that are less than honest. Again, I ask for your vote on November 3rd. Together, we have made Anoka County better, and with your support, I will continue to represent you in a responsible and accountable manner. My website is www.votemattlook.com. Thank you.
Thank you. And John Letourneau, please give us your final statement.
Yes, again, thank you to the League for bringing forward this event. It's so important. Actually, I always look forward to it, so I appreciate that. Honestly, it just comes down to 34 years ago, I was this guy looking to lay down some roots. I wanted to start a business, get a house, have a family. I found this in Anoka County, in the city of Ramsey. And like many of you, I know and love this county. And so for decades, we've only been able to realize our dreams as a family, and I've been able to be part of an extended community that I really, really love. And so my level of service and my ability to be in this role is an opportunity for me to continue giving back. I certainly do look forward to that. I also just want to remind you of my work style. Here's how I work. I think good decisions come from talking openly about the issue, about collecting diverse opinions and arriving at the best solutions. And so this season, this is the season of change. This is the season of how we're going to take Anoka County from really good to really great. And I look forward to doing that as your next county commissioner. Thank you very much. I'll see you out there.
Thank you so much, candidates, for speaking to voters about issues and for running for Anoka County Commissioner in District 1. Thank you to all of you watching for your interest in becoming informed voters. You will find links to all the Meet the Candidate forums on the LWV ABC website as we move through this election season, as well as on QCTV's website. You can request an absentee ballot now on the Secretary of State's website, mnvotes.org, or go to your city hall to vote anytime after September 18th. If you need to register to vote or update your registration, you can do that online or when you go to vote. Make your voice heard in the general election by voting on November 3rd. Thank you and stay safe and healthy.